Hey everyone, this is Chris at Realridesharestories, and today I'm going to talk to you about the bad side of rideshare. First, I do want to clarify something. A lot of the times you'll see drivers that complain that they're not getting health benefits or they're not getting this and that and the other thing, whether it be a wage or whether it be, it doesn't really matter what it is. Let's clarify something right now. And this isn't to do anything with the bad side. This is the reality. If you drive for a rideshare company, you are an independent contractor, which means you do not actually get paid or employed by the parent company, meaning you're not going to get benefits. These are things that you have to provide for yourself. Whether you are a rideshare person who's doing it full time or only doing that or doing other options as well for income that doesn't allow or doesn't have things like healthcare or certain benefits. So let's start off right away. If you're a driver, stop complaining about not getting healthcare benefits or certain benefits through rideshare companies. You are an independent contractor, which means you are a 1099 versus a W-2. And this is at least in the United States. Within the rest of the world, their tax codes are different. I don't live in outside the U.S., so I don't know these things. But if you're in the U.S., you are a 1099 independent contractor versus a W-2 or a 1040. So stop complaining because it's just annoying at this point. So if you want to see the good side of rideshare, because there are many, many benefits for it, just a quick overview is, it helps prevent drinking and driving. It helps get people to and from locations that can't drive and have to rely on others. It's going to be more cheap than the cab industry. There's a lot of great things about it. So check out the other video. Links in the description. We'll try to get a little card up above too, where you can click to see the good side of rideshare. Let's get into the bad side of things. First, there's a big lack of transparency between rideshare companies and the passengers and drivers. And things change a lot, and sometimes it's not just communicated properly. But there are a lot of transparency issues that do need to be worked out between the companies themselves and the riders and drivers of those companies. Some of the expectations that you expect from rideshare versus the reality of it. If you're a passenger and you expect that people are going to have water or snacks or things like that, that's just not reality. And then also some of the things with the driving too as well. You don't necessarily know what you're going to be getting into as a driver. And they don't really kind of talk about that. The companies themselves always want to paint themselves in a good light, which is understandable. You want to do that, but you also got to put into fruition exactly what certain things are going to get into. And if you rely on, say, certain forums or certain videos, those sometimes are going to be the extreme sides of things, where in reality, it's not going to happen all the time. And I'm talking about, like, say, a really bad ride or somebody trying to scam the driver or really any extreme problem within the rideshare portion itself. There are many different things that can happen, and it's just taking the steps to being aware of them and kind of saying, okay, well, this is what you can expect. Let's try to see the couple of different things that can come from that, meaning how to handle situations or how to do things. If you put that into the program itself, I think it's going to help show a lot of people what the reality of things are versus what the possible expectations are. And then one of the also bad sides of rideshare is the pay percentage and the wait time issue that they have between the rideshare companies and the drivers themselves. Yeah, the pay is a big issue. And yes, you get paid on a per mile and a time rate. And the ride itself is, it's when you order it, its estimated value of what it's going to cost the passenger is going to show you maybe like $20, and the driver might get $11 out of that. And that percentage is off, and it's just tightening up things. That's all it has to be. If you tighten up where the driver's going to get a little bit more, if you tighten up where you're spending in your company itself, I understand you have to pay employees, you have to pay for advertising, you have to pay for technology and the platform itself so people can still use rideshare. That all costs money. But think of how many rides are going on at one time. And then the big thing is this wait time. The wait time pay is absolutely abysmal, and it's not worth it for a driver to wait more than 5 minutes at a store. And this is one of the things that you got to watch out for when you're driving and somebody wants to go to a grocery store or another store where they're going to be in there for 5, 10, 15 plus minutes, and they'll leave something in the vehicle. If you're a driver, you really got to watch out for that stuff, because you're not getting paid to sit there. Essentially, it's your car is going to be running and costing more in gas than the amount you're actually getting paid. So it's going to start costing you money. Plus, on the app, when you put in add a stop, it tells you keep them short, only a couple of minutes long. If you're going to do an extended time, then maybe there should be a charge where it's an extended time charge. I don't know. I'm just coming up with ideas. These are some different things that people need to think about and talk about as well, though. So if you're a driver, start thinking of these things and then submit it to the companies that you are actually driving for. And then another thing with the bad side of the company itself is how they make improvements and make it seem like it's such a great improvement. And in actuality, it really does nothing. They might tell you where rides are prevalent or where more people are ordering. But when you do that, now all of the drivers are going to go to that spot. And so now you're going to have an oversupply and less demand than what it really is. So it actually doesn't do anything in the grand scheme of things. So certain updates that they roll out that make it seem like these are the best things for the company, for passengers and for drivers, really, when you actually look at it and pull it back, it's nothing. It's just a cover, and it makes it seem like it's great, but it really isn't. There's not that much that's going to be good of that, or it's not going to work the way you think it's intended. It might sound great on paper, but in actuality and practice, it doesn't work right. All right, so there's a few things on the bad side of driving as well. So the first thing is when you go and pick somebody up, you don't necessarily know who's coming in your vehicle. And they could be somebody who's under the influence of a drug or alcohol, and they might do stuff that normally in real life they wouldn't do when they're sobered. Or you could just be getting a crazy whacked out person. You don't really know. So you just got to be prepared for that. Doing it at night like I do, it puts you more at risk for people who are drinking, people who are under the influence of drugs. You're just at a higher risk when you do it at night versus during the day. So again, if you're driving at night, just be prepared for that. Another bad side of driving is the wear and tear that goes on your vehicle. If you do this full time and you're doing this for many hours per week, you're putting a lot of miles on your vehicle, a lot. So you got to make sure you're getting your oil changes all the time. You got to make sure you're getting your tires changed, your brakes checked and changed, all the normal wear and tear and maintenance that needs to be on the vehicle. You're putting a lot of driving on that vehicle, And if you drive in cities and that, you're putting a lot of stop and go city miles on your vehicle as well too. So the vehicle definitely takes a beating when you're driving with rideshare. Another big thing is there's sometimes too many drivers for an area, especially when the companies promote, hey, you take a lot of rideshare, why don't you become a driver and make money? That's all fine and dandy, except for the fact that now you're putting much, much more drivers out on the road, and the demand could still be the same. So anybody really can become a driver as long as they meet their criteria and pass the background checks. You could pretty much be a driver, and then you can go out whenever you want. It doesn't matter. There are many times where there's too many drivers out for the amount of rides. So you could be sitting there for 20, 30 minutes without giving a ride. And you got to ask yourself, is that worth it? Because the only time you're actually getting paid is when there's somebody in your vehicle and there's an actual ride going on. One of the last things that I could think about off the top of my head that is a problem with driving for rideshare is when the company sends out a ping request that connects the passenger and the driver, and it's like 20 minutes away or even 10 minutes away, and they're just going down the street. So it's not worth it to drive that distance because, one, you're not getting paid to drive the distance from where you are to the pickup location. So that is a problem that I think needs to be addressed much differently. And this is something where again, the company themselves kind of need to really evaluate and look at how they send out these requests to different drivers. I'm not going to take a request that's 10, 15, 20 minutes away from where I am because you don't know if that's only going to be a 2 or 3 minute ride where it's not even worth it to take that person. The only way I might go that's going to be take it that's longer is if I see that alert that it's a 45-minute plus ride. And you don't see that very often. I think I've had that happen twice. But I mean, it's something that you got to watch out for. And it's just, if you're a driver, just make sure you're smart about things. You don't have to accept every single ride that comes in. You don't have to. If you want to make a rule that says, I don't want to drive further than 8 minutes away from where I am to pick up a rider, you're in charge of what you want to do. So don't worry about that. Wrapping up, again, it's always a work in progress, and there is communication that's between the company themselves, the rideshare companies, and the passengers and the drivers. So there's always this continuing communication, and you got to come up with the ideas, you got to put it in the drawing board, you got to figure out how it's going to work, test it. So it does take a lot of time to go from idea to actual execution. But the thing is, when there's been certain things that have been brought up over and over and over again from both passengers and drivers to make it easier, and the company themselves doesn't do it, that's where there's a problem, and it needs to always be evolving. And as long as it's always evolving, again, the bad is going to start shrinking more and more and more. And yeah, as time goes on, there's always going to be things that are added, but it's going to continue to shrink. Where it was when it started to even just to about a year or two ago to where it is now, and then probably what they're working on continuing into the future. It's just going to help grow everything better. And like I said, as long as they keep listening to the passengers and to the drivers, work out a balance that works for everybody, then that's going to be a wonderful thing. And again, there is more good than bad. There really is. Somebody can sit here and complain about this, that, and the other thing, but in actuality, there are some bad things that do need to be addressed. Yes, went over quite a few of them. But on the flip side, you have to look at the good things as well. So make sure you check out the video that I posted before, and you'll be able to see the good sides of rideshare. That's going to be it for the bad side of rideshare. If you have anything that you think is on the bad, make sure you comment below. Also, like and share this video if you enjoy it. Make sure to subscribe, ring the bell for notifications for all of our upcoming videos as well. And we'll see you next time on Real Rideshare Stories.